everybody, to the Hot Tag Hooligans Wrestling Podcast show with myself, Aaron, and Tom. And like we said on our last episode, 2022 is now over, which means we got to get to award season. And unlike last year, we've decided to break down every category into its own show because we want to give the time to the category instead of just feeling like it's all rushed. And to help us break that down, you've probably seen her around on Twitter. You've probably seen her around on Elite POV. It's the one and only Kimmy. How's it going?
Hi, I'm good. We picked a good day to do this. There's a lot of wrestling news going around. But yeah, 2023 is off to a pretty interesting, chaotic start.
It is off to a chaotic start, and let's talk with that because as we are filming this tonight, Vince McMahon is back into power, it seems. Stephanie McMahon has resigned. Nick Khan is now fully the CEO by himself, and it looks like Triple H is back on the back burner once again. And your thoughts on that initially?
I was shocked. I didn't think this was all going to go very quickly because obviously, we heard the reports that Vince wanted to come back in December, and everyone said nobody wants Vince back. Nobody wants Vince back. And here we are on January 10th, and Vince is back. I think it's interesting that it has been stressed enough that Triple H is still, in charge of creative and still in charge of content. So he's not losing his position yet. Do I think things are going to change between when we record this and maybe later in the week? Absolutely. But I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens next. Obviously, I think Stephanie's done a great job within the 8 months that she had the position, but not the best way to start 2023 if you're in WWE.
Tom, your thoughts?
It's moving so quickly that I really feel stronger than I ever have that they are definitely going to sell this company. I think everything is pointing to that, and I don't think anything else matters to them at all right now except for selling the company. So what that means for the product, I don't know. It's going to be a very interesting time for the next few months to see, how it unfolds and who actually does take the helm of creative, especially if they do sell. And they could be doing some things differently just to sell it. So I don't know. I'm very worried, but I'm also optimistic in the same token. I know that makes no sense, but there are some good companies out there that I think that would probably do things that would be more beneficial to the product than what we have gotten in the last 5 to 10 years. So we'll just have to see how that plays out.
And you would think that right now the sale may be the best time as we're getting ready to hit into the Royal Rumble and WrestleMania, so that perhaps maybe the plans won't be too switched right now, and maybe they do have a course that they're going to kind of stick with, and we'll still get some of those great matchups that we're hoping to get. I wasn't against Vince coming back just for the negotiation part. I'll just be honest with that. When I heard he was coming back for negotiations, I thought that's a pretty smart move. Let's be honest. He's the only person that's probably ever negotiated a media rights deal that's probably on the board, probably around. So I thought he would get them the best deal possible with the potential sale. But there was a part of me that knew right away that it was all going to be a coup, and Vince was going to get his way right back into power as soon as he could because his allegations and everything, true or not, had died down. And once it kind of died down, you knew Vince was going to be like, no one's ever going to get credit for what I've built. And if I can't run it, no one's going to run it. So it's definitely kind of upsetting to me in a way. And I'm sure there's some talent right now that's kind of a little bit more upset than they were yesterday. Because let's be honest, there was a lot of budget cuts right when Vince was there, and they released a lot of talent. Triple H brought those same people back, and Vince didn't see anything in those people. So it'd be very interesting going forward.
I think the thing is too is if whoever's going to buy it, there's going to be cuts anyway. So cuts are in the air, folks. Don't be shocked if you see them within the next couple months.
Yeah, and the thing about the cuts were, there were some names the last time that kind of upset me a little bit because I thought some of the NXT talent that was on the main roster wasn't getting pushed the way they should. But I also thought more companies besides AEW should have jumped on some of those talents. It shocked me tremendously that Impact didn't make a bigger play for some of those talents, because how great of a world would it have been if we had three perhaps major promotions in, America really start to pick up some steam. It seemed like Impact kind of set out and AEW just gobbled up the talent, and a lot of those talents now are kind of just swimming, to stay above water over in AEW now too. So yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting 2023 as we march down the road to WrestleMania. But tonight we brought Kimmy here for one reason and one reason only, and that is for our women's top 5 of the year. And last year, we only just had where we gave our only pick as far as a whole show. But this year, I really think there was a lot of women that really stood out and a lot of men who stood out. So I wanted to kind of see how everyone's barometers were. And so we're going to start off with your number 5 pick for the women's wrestler of the year, Kimmy.
So this woman, she did a lot in WWE. She had a stellar WrestleMania match. She got hurt at SummerSlam, but I think now with her return and the Vegas odds kind of being in her favor for the Royal Rumble, I think she should have a stellar 2023. My number 5 is the man herself, Becky Lynch.
Tom, your thoughts on Becky Lynch at number 5?
I feel like this year Becky Lynch has not had the year that I expected her to have. And I think that's my biggest issue with having her on the list. There's definitely, she would definitely be an honorable mention for me. Not that that's her fault. A lot of it I felt like was just timing and booking and her being out and things like that. But I don't know. She's better. I think what they got going on with her now, I believe, is better than when she originally came back. But I feel like they still have a long way to go to even get her to where she was when she was the man and she was over the way that she was. So it's a good pick. It just didn't make my top 5.
She did not make my top 5 either. And one of the reasons was because of I was just so disconnected with the Big Time Bex character for the longest time. I love the man Becky Lynch character, and I'm like Tom. I think we're going to start getting a little bit more of the man in 2023. She's, and she did miss some time, and I just thought the booking for her was a little bit lazy. I really did this past year. No fault to her. Her match quality was right there. And I can see why you went with Becky Lynch. That's why I love doing these shows, because it's going to be crazy and all over the place. And I'll give my number 5 right now. And this is going to probably make a lot of people mad, but my number 5 is Bianca Belair.
Oh.
Yes. She's had a great year, but I have not been intrigued with her with this title run as I was with her last title run. After beating Sasha, I thought she was on top of the world. And then now, after defeating Becky, I feel like the booking for her is totally lazy. I feel like they don't give her enough time to shine. Some of the matchups, nothing against Bayley, but we've got almost 3 months of her versus Bayley in this title run. And to me, that was too much if Bayley was not going to win the title. I'm eager to see her matchup for WrestleMania this year, because I think that's going to be a very interesting, perhaps pivotal point for her. I just feel like compared to the year before, it was nowhere near that. So, Kimmy, your thoughts on my pick at number 5, Bianca Belair?
So I see why she's so low, because I think especially after WrestleMania that a lot of the matchups got stale. And I think that's why I've been so disappointed that Bayley hasn't taken the title off her yet, because I don't understand what we're waiting for. I thought the trigger was very clear to pull at Extreme Rules, but clearly I'm not in charge of WWE Creative. But I think the reason why Bianca's a little bit higher on my list is because I feel like she's a better chaser than a champion. And I feel like she's just so good in that storyline. That was the majority of this year, was she was a chaser. But very interesting that you have her as number 5, but I understand why.
Okay, Tom, your thoughts on Bianca at number 5?
So I agree. I understand why you have her that low. However, I'll talk about her a little bit more in depth here pretty soon. But there's some other reasonings that I have that make her higher than that.
Okay.
So
then you're number 5.
My number 5 is somebody that I feel like if they had given her the opportunity to tell her story on television weekly and really be able to give her the time that she deserved as the AEW Women's Champion, then she would have had an even better year than what she did, and that's Thunder Rosa. I love everything about Thunder Rosa. I love her in-ring work. Everything about her gimmick is great. I'm just a big fan of what they're doing. However, the storylines and the fact that I felt like they skipped a lot of television where she wasn't even on the show as the women's champion was a big mistake. But she was, she did have great momentum going into the, was it the St. Patty's Day? I'm not sure what they called that, but that event where she won the title. And I thought it was sky's the limit. And then she wasn't on TV. And it's like, okay, that was kind of a weird move. And I really feel like if they were able to tell that story, she would have been closer up the list towards that number 1 spot. But yeah, Thunder Rosa, number 5.
And we love Thunder Rosa, past guest here on the show. She did not make my number 5. I just think she missed too much time. And, and sometimes that just happens. Sometimes the best wrestlers in the world get injured and things happen and they just miss a lot of time, and that affects their time for me on rankings. I also thought some of the matchups they gave her this year, wrestling match quality wise, always felt like her matchups on television were better than her pay-per-view matches. And I don't know what that was for me, but anytime she was in a big time match on television, I found myself really enjoying those matches more than whenever I got a chance to sit down and actually watch the pay-per-view matches. She didn't make my top 5, but understand why she's on yours, Kimmy.
So me and Thunder Rosa go way back because in the beginning of the year, I interviewed her for a school project, and I'm a huge Britt Baker fan. I've worked with her before she was even signed to AEW, and she got a little mad at me because my wallpaper was Britt Baker and it wasn't her, and she beat me up the majority of this year. So me and her have a little beef, but I'll defend her here. I'll be nice. I think that this year for her this was the year that Thunder Rosa was meant to show out. I mean, before she even signed to AEW and she was in NWA, everyone was like, please buy her out of her NWA contract, get her over here. She's going to make such a big impact. And I agreed with them, but I just don't know what Tony was thinking with the booking, because you're right. After St. Patrick's Day Slam, she wasn't on TV. She was in no pivotal match, and she was getting the title off her so quickly because the original plan was that she was going to lose to Toni Storm at All Out before, she got hurt. So I'm interested to see what happens with 2023, when she's going to come back, who she's going to face for that title, because we don't know if, Jamie Hayter's still going to be champion. Maybe a role model is going to beat her, but I understand why she's on your 5, but I think just with the injury stuff, I couldn't do it.
All right. You're number 4, Kimmy.
This person's been champion for 365 days. And I think that, it's interesting because all of her friends seem to be turning on her, and that would be Jade. I think this was really Jade's year, that she proved that, this is real. They gave her the championship for a reason, obviously. And she really proved that she is a force to be reckoned with. I think everyone's counting down till she finally loses that title to hopefully Statlander when she comes back. And she goes for that AEW Women's Championship because she has proven that she deserves that title and she deserves to be in the ring with the best. She's had a great year. I can't wait to see what's next for her. So the one and only, the undefeated Jade, is my number 4.
Jade was actually my number 6. It was close to make. And the reason why, and I hate to say this, I feel like with her, from the time she started until now, she's completely really improved. Don't get me wrong. I think she is a star waiting to happen. And I need to see that money feud with her. I need to see something more than just a one-off feud. It seems like they continuously are just throwing, here's just one person, and now here's just one person. I need to see an actual feud with her to see how she can carry that as far as a character goes. I want to see some intensity. I want to see somebody get one up on her. I want to see, the evilness that comes with a great feud with her. And to be honest, I think Thunder Rosa, if she doesn't go for that, AEW Women's Championship, that could be a good feud for Jade. Upon her return, I would love to see a great feud between Thunder Rosa and Jade, and I think that would elevate Jade. It was so hard for me to keep her out, especially with her undefeated streak. But I need to see that money feud with her. I love everything about her. She looks like $1,000,000. She's gotten so much better in the ring. You can see the confidence in her. But I just need to see that money feud. She was my number 6, honorable mention. But I love your pick there. Go ahead, Tom.
So she was originally on my list, and I kept going back and forth between her and my number 4. And so she would have been at number 4. And then it was one of those things where once I start moving somebody around, then I have to rethink everything. And then after I went back to the drawing board and rethought the whole process, she didn't make my list. But I will say she is an absolute gem. She really is. I think she will be one of the biggest stars if she continues on the path that she's on. But kind of like what Aaron said, my thing is I feel like she's kind of got that Goldberg push, and I need something more credible out of it other than she's just coming in there and dominating. I want to see some better feuds, some higher quality opponents to really get in there and see what kind of a good, strong, long match length she can perform and really take it to the next level instead of just being in the spotlight as the star, which they're doing a great job, but you can only do that for so long until you need to see a little bit more. But I mean, she's had a hell of a year.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. My number 4 is someone who's been champion for over 564 days. It's the NWA Women's Champion, Camille. Talk about somebody who doesn't get a lot of credit at all. To your average wrestling fan, they may not even know who she is. But she is dominant, just like Jade is right now in her craft. And I really think NWA did a really good job as far as getting her some viable contenders this year. We were at NWA 74 when she was able to wrestle Taya in probably one of the best matches of the night as far as that goes. Kylan King challenged for that title as well. Chelsea Green challenged for that title as well. And her work is becoming more and more believable as she's getting more confidence within herself. And to have that title for 500 and almost 64 days now is a great testament to her. I wish the NWA would loan her out for the Royal Rumble. I would love to see that and her to get her moment perhaps in front of a bigger audience. I would love to see some kind of deal kind of worked out like they did with Mickie James and Impact last year. But my number 4 is Camille. Kimmy, your thoughts on Camille?
That's a good pick. I like that pick because it's funny that you say about Jade because Jade recently called her out on Twitter the other day because Camille's looking for more competition. So you never know. There's a bunch of forbidden doors in wrestling. But you're right. Camille doesn't get the credit she deserves because she just keeps defending that title constantly. And because NWA doesn't have the amount of eyes on it like Impact, AEW, WWE, people don't realize it. So I like that pick, and I understand why you put her as 4. I love Camille. She's one of the nicest humans. I've gotten to work with her in the past, and she's great.
Tom, Camille.
It's a great pick. I mean, there's just so many great women's wrestlers out there. It's almost like you could do a whole pay-per-view just of women,
There's not enough women.
Wow.
There's not enough
women.
Isn't
that crazy?
There's not.
That's such a concept. Too bad someone from Smashing Pumpkins couldn't understand that.
Right. Like it's a weird concept. Yeah, I mean, she's she's doing amazing things for NWA as on her own. I mean, she's probably the best in-ring draw that they have, honestly, in my opinion. So, you know, that's a great pick. I didn't have her on mine, but like I said, there's just so many that you can't put everybody on the list. But it's a great pick.
All right, you're number 4.
So my number 4 is Jamie Hayter. So when I look at her year in the trajectory from being Britt's lackey to being Britt's equal, I just, in how over she is and everything that she was able to do this year and then accomplish becoming the AEW World Champion. I mean, what better year could you have? And then it's pushing, we're going into 2023, and the feud that we believe that's going to happen is going to be her and Britt. And it's, they're on an even playing field. They really are. So you look at where she was to where she is now, it's hard to beat that, even though she's only been champion for a very short time. She's had a very good year. So I put her as number 4.
Kimmy, your thoughts on Jamie Hayter?
So Jamie actually won on Elite POV not only our Women's Superstar of the Year, but our Breakout Star of the Year. She went home with both. That's how good her year was. She's my number 3, but what a freaking year. So I'll, since it'll just coincide. It's perfect that it worked out this way. I mean, when Jamie Hayter first came back to AEW after the pandemic, everyone thought she was Becky Lynch. And now when you think of AEW in the women's division, you can't help but not think of her. She has had a tremendous year. The Pillar and the Killer is just such a great name. Their tag team is absolutely amazing. I cannot wait for their match tomorrow on Dynamite, and whoever that mystery partner may be, well, it's Tony, but you never know. Someone might attack from behind. It's AEW, folks. But she's had a great year. The fact that she got to end it as champion, I was at Full Gear. And just the pop she got when she won, she deserved it. But that's a great pick. She was a little higher on my list, but we are Team Jamie Hayter on Elite POV. And here, obviously.
And as crazy as it is, Jamie Hayter was my number 3 as well. And she's the reason why I love pro wrestling, right? It's the person that you're not expecting, who's not getting pushed, and then all of a sudden things click. And Tony listened to the crowd. And that is something that WWE lacks sometimes. Unless Vince wants you to get over, and that's what scares me, unless Vince wants you to get over, sometimes you don't get over. Very seldom will he actually go ahead and go along with it. But Jamie Hayter was kind of left for dead. And like you're talking about, she was the lackey, and we all knew she had some talent, and we knew she wasn't being used to her fullest potential. But then when it started clicking with the crowd, man, did she ever capitalize. And you can't ask for a better year than what she just had. And if she would have told you that's how her year would have ended, she probably would have told you were full of it, because she probably didn't see it coming herself. And now it's going to be very interesting, like you're talking about tomorrow night. We've got the tag team match and the potential of a Britt Baker showdown before it's all said and done as well. I kind of feel like that's going to be coming as well. And perhaps matchups with Saraya is another matchup that I'm kind of looking forward to. But Jamie Hayter at number 3 is very solid. So me and Kimmy were thinking a lot alike there. Tom, you're number 3.
So my number 3 is Bianca Belair, which we've already talked a little bit about. So for me, what placed her higher is the fact that anything that she is given, I feel like she knocks it out of the park. And whenever you think about her and her story, breaking records and history and these things, she's been the Raw Women's Champion now for over 300 days, I believe, and she's the longest reigning African American in WWE history, male or female. And to think about, just thinking about that, and it's taken, that's not that long of a reign in the totality of the wrestling world. And it's 2023, and it's taken that long to get to that point. And she's just doing an excellent job with everything that they give her. Now, yes, do they need to line her up some better opponents? Absolutely. but I still think she's done a good enough job and broken enough records and done enough things this year to get her a pretty high spot on my top five list. But you would think somebody who has been the Raw Women's Champion for that long would be at your number one spot. So if you really think about it, I do take in consideration that they haven't had the best storylines and they haven't really done their due diligence with her. But on her end, I feel like she's done everything that they've asked her to do. So my number three, Bianca Belair.
I think Kimmy mentioned it. I think we all expected Bayley to take that title from her. When Damage Control was put together, and they've got the tag titles, it just made sense, and we were all waiting for it. And maybe that's our faults for wanting Bianca's downfall or expecting her downfall. But she's had a great year. I just think the booking was a little confusing for me sometimes. It hurt me getting into her character a little bit more, and I thought her reign last time was a whole lot. So nothing
Well,
to get.
and if Bayley had taken that title with the help of Damage Control, Bianca doesn't lose anything other than she doesn't officially have the championship, and she could be even bigger than where she was on her chase to get it back. And I think that's where that they dropped the ball, and it just kind of put it into a void in a way to where we feel like we're kind of seeing the same thing each and every month.
Yep. All right, you're number two. We're getting down to the meat and potatoes here. Kimmy.
So my two was Bianca Belair, but not just for the wrestling aspect. I feel like now that Sasha's gone, they need someone to be like their marketable face. And I feel like this year, that's what Bianca showed. She was on the College Game Day picks. They're making a show with her and Montez on Hulu. And she's done a lot more outside the ring to kind of fill that void that they're losing with Sasha going to New Japan and potentially whatever happens tomorrow happens tomorrow. So I think that's why she was so high on my list because this year had proved not only is she good in the ring, but she's a good marketable face for them. And with them losing, which is probably the biggest marketable thing they lost, but Becky and Charlotte are worth way more than Sasha Banks. Okay, Vince. So that's why she was my number two. She's had a great year, but my problem is going into 2023. If it wasn't Bayley, who the hell is she losing this title to? I don't know. We're running out of people on this roster, guys.
We are, and that's why I would love to see when Naomi comes back. She's full heel. I would love to see Naomi be full heel because we haven't seen her that way and attack Bianca. And then I also like what they're doing with Rhea right now. There's some viable contenders out there, so it should be interesting to see. I do think whoever wins the Royal Rumble will choose Bianca's.
I agree.
So
I agree.
All right, my number two, I'm picking the best women's wrestler in the world. And she's just recently lost the World of Stardom Championship, and that's sure. When you watch her matches, and I know a lot of people don't get into the stars, 5 stars, 4 stars, or whatever, but the match quality with her is amazing. And it's everything that I wish Kairi Sane and Asuka should have been when they got to the WWE. I wish they would just say, hey, go out there and do what you can and show me what you got. Because I think unless it's WrestleMania sometimes, they don't get those chances as women in the WWE. And I think that hurts the women's product a lot. I know for the longest time, it was always bathroom breaks at women's matches, and it sucked. And we've kind of changed that narrative a little bit. But there's still some matchups that are women matches that are only getting 6-7 minutes, and it's terrible. And for me to see someone, and almost every time they're out there, get a chance to shine like Shuri does is amazing. And Julia was close to making my list, but she had just won the belt, and I think she's a name to watch out for next year for sure. But Shuri is my number two. Go ahead.
I haven't been too familiar with the Stardom Japanese names, but I know that she was on a lot of people's list. And when I purchased New Japan World, I was like, oh my God, I could get into this now because it's going to be on New Japan World. So I haven't got a chance to look at that yet, but it is on my list. So I'm going to say that's a good pick for what I've heard, not from what I've seen.
I got you. And it's fine. I've only been able to catch her, going back and rewatching some stuff on YouTube after I hear it. But when I watch her wrestle, it's just different than anything else I see. And, there's still that wrestling purist in me who loves wrestling for the pure art form that it is. And for me, I had to include her on the list. Tom.
I ain't got much to add to it because you know me, I don't really keep up with a lot of that goes on. I have a hard enough trying to keep up with what's going on in America, and I know I'm missing out. I will say that up front, and I know that's a big point to it, is that I'm missing out on a lot of great stuff. But there's wrestling on every night of the week, and sometimes I find it hard to get all of the American promotions in. So it's if I need a easier access to it, to where I can enjoy it on a consistent basis instead of just trying to pick up something that somebody said was really good. But I mean, kind of like what Kimmy said, there is a lot of talk, so I'm sure it's a valid pick. I'm not gonna say it's not.
If you get a chance, everyone check out her match against Julia recently. It was probably one of the better matches of the year that I saw. So give that a shot. Tom, you're number 2.
So my number 2 has been the women's champion in 2 promotions, and she's a former guest of our show. And just to be able to sit back and watch a former guest that you've had and watch them grow and to see the accomplishments that they accomplish is just very it's very prideful in a way, which is really silly because we don't know these people. We just because we've had a conversation with them, we don't know them. But to be able to sit back and watch Roxy become Roxanne Perez, and to be able to see the great work that she's doing in NXT and becoming the NXT Women's Champion has just been an amazing year for her. And to be able to watch that is fantastic. And I enjoy everything that she does. I think she's got something special, and I think she's going to be a major player for years to come. So I put her at number 2 because of the multiple promotions, and there's a little bias in there too because she's one of my favorites. But she's at number 2 for me.
Yeah, I mean
that is such a good pick. I'm going to tell you why. So first of all, a lot of people forget that Deonna and Roxy happened on Impact in January of 2022. And I almost picked it as my match of the year because so many people forgot about it. But I remember having a conversation with Maria when I was doing the Ring of Honor Women's Division stuff with her. And she asked me, she's like, who's your favorite to win? And I said, it's Roxy. She's the same age as me. How can I not pick her? EST 2001 people were taking over. And Maria's like, you know what? That's a pretty good pick, Kimmy. And then she won the whole thing. Not saying I had anything to do with it, but like the 1% chance that I did, I'm going to keep on saying it chills. She tells me I can't. But just to see the breakout tournament, the Iron Survivor, even though the circumstances weren't really there, her winning the NXT Women's Championship has been absolutely insane. The WWE signing her was probably the best signing they could have done because I don't know what she would have done in AEW, but seeing what she's doing now, who knows where 2023 is going to look like? Is she going to be in the Rumble in 2 weeks? Is she going to, by the end of 2023, are we going to be sitting here? She's going to be Raw or SmackDown Women's Champion? You never know, but that is a fantastic pick. She was my honorable mention, and I'm really happy someone put her on the list because she deserves it.
She definitely would have made the top 10. And like Tom said, it's sometimes it's just prideful because if you're on our show, we like you and we're rooting for you. And unless you've given us a reason not to like you, which no one has yet. But we're rooting for you and we're pulling for you. And there is that sense of, man, they did it. And I remember watching I think we had somebody spoil it for us via message, me and Tom, before we were able to actually watch it live. They kind of spoiled it for us, sent out that emoji that's like that shock emoji face. So then you're like, oh my gosh, like, no way. And so she is so talented that it scares me of what may come of her because of booking, especially again with the news today of who's kind of back in charge in a way. But if I was her, I would definitely take this next couple of years, stay down in NXT. There's no rush. Become the best NXT Women's Champion that you could possibly be. Have some great matches, and that's the one thing I'm really looking forward to her. I want to see some feuds with her. Kind of like that Jade. We know she can do it. She was the Ring of Honor Women's Champion, and then that kind of got yanked kind of out from underneath her a little bit because she went to NXT, and it's perfectly fine because I think she's where she needs to be. I think they'll know how to market her, and it will not shock me one bit if she's not in my top 5 next year. So, all right. Before we get to number 1s, okay, Kimmy, I want you to give me someone that everyone should really pay attention to for 2023.
Masha Slamovich. I think what she's doing in Impact right now is great. I think that she should have won the title at Bound for Glory. I was there with Ella, and we were both like, why didn't she win the title? I thought that was the plan here, but she has had a tremendous year. I know she was recently at Bola with Jordan this past weekend, but I think she's going to have a big 2023, whether that includes her winning the Impact Women's Knockouts Championship or not. But I think Masha Slamovich should be on everyone's radar going into 2023.
Love Masha. That's a great pick. Love her. Tom?
Whew. I would say Chelsea Green until the news today.
Oh, that's my girl.
Oh, the news today is just like kind of a bummer for everyone, right? It's just like, oh, here we go.
Because I don't know anything. I'm just a fan who likes to pay a lot of attention to what's going on. But I really feel like she was going to get signed or has maybe already signed to the WWE. Now I worry because she's not Charlotte. She's not Becky. She's not even Bayley, especially to Vince McMahon. So fingers crossed that's not the case, but she's the one that I am rooting for this year, that she's going to have a major year. No pun intended.
No major, not major.
Ooh.
For me, it's simple. And anyone who knows me knows it's pretty simple. It's the BSB. It's Billy Starks. 18 now. Going to be able to head on out and wrestle a lot of places that people have not seen her yet because a lot of state requirements are now lifted for her. Such an amazing person. Been a guest on here multiple times. It's our household's absolute favorite. And if I'm ever biased for anyone, it's Billy 100%. Every time I see her, she's putting it all on the line. And I don't know, and I've told her this, I don't know if you're my daughter, if I've been letting you do all that stuff that she does. But I think now some promotion's really going to take a look at her. I love the fact that she got a little shot at AEW Dark recently. GCW is a place that she calls home as well, and they're picking up steam for a lot of people to get some eyes on her. So Billy is definitely my 2023 person that you should definitely know if you don't know. So yeah, that's just, Tom probably saw that one coming a mile away. So, but yeah, it's Billy 100%.
That's a great pick though, because I don't think a lot of people really heard of her until she was on AEW Dark a couple months ago. But that's a really good pick because I have had a lot of people this year be like, "Did you see this Billy Starks match?" And I'm like, if someone could get it to me, sure. But if you're not going to get it to me, I don't know what you want me to do. But I'm going to make a prediction that by the end of next year, so the end of 2023, she'll be signed somewhere.
And I hope so.
I would be sure she wasn't.
Yeah, it's been a long road for her, and I know, and it's crazy because she's 18, but it's been a long road. She's really started really young, and for everyone that's not my BSB jacket. I don't wear that jacket. That's actually Billy's actual jacket. She gave it to my daughter, who's looks up to Billy and role model wise. So it's great to see. So hopefully this year, 100%. And AEW Dark, listen to me. This is my last time. Please, please Stop bringing these talents in for them to lose in 2 minutes and 30 seconds. Bring these people in, men, women, whoever, and give them 10-minute matches. You don't have to have 47 dark matches on per episode. Give them 10-minute matches. Let the fans decide if they like them, and let's see what they got. I was so proud that Billy was able to be on there, and she wrestled Red Velvet. It was great. She got really 2 moves. And it's like, oh, it just kills me, frustrates me so much. Kudos to everyone who gets a chance on Dark. Come on, Dark. Come on. Give people some time. Ugh. All right.
Too much of a concept for AEW to understand.
It is. It's like Vince pushing people is Tony's Dark. It's like, come on, Vince, what are you doing? So, yeah.
That's such a great, I'm going to use that. That's so good.
Yeah, it's like Dark is his kryptonite. Like, if I had that time and I'm bringing these people in, let's see what they got. Don't even put them against your AEW people. Just have Billy Starks wrestle, let's say if you're bringing Chelsea Green in. Chelsea Green versus Billy Starks. Let's go. Quit having your people like Red Velvet wrestle somebody for 2 minutes and 12 seconds. Quit.
Well, I think the problem is they made the statement about the wins and losses matter and everybody's record's a big thing, and then they got to somehow make those records look like they're actually doing something. So they got to give Red Velvet some wins.
Yeah, and I like Red Velvet, but let's be honest, she's beaten 6 people on AEW Dark who's not even on the roster. So she should get a shot at Jade? What? No, that don't make no sense. Doesn't make no sense.
Well, I'll also say too, obviously I'm not defending everything that happens on Dark, but I will say for Red Velvet's case, she is coming back from injury, so I think they wanted her to get reps in before she came back on TV.
Oh yeah, I'm okay with Red Velvet. That was just an example for me. That's not me bashing Red Velvet. But you know how it is. I'll see somebody's record on Dynamite and it says that they're 47-3, and I'm like, what? When did they win 47 matches? I haven't seen them win one. And then I find out 40 of the wins were on Dark. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess they're the number 1 contender now. Whatever. So, yeah. All right. Kimmy, your number 1 women's wrestler of the year is who?
She didn't have a strong start because the first couple days of 2022, she left the company, but she came into AEW. And to me, she's the strongest AEW Women's Champion they've ever had. She was defending that title almost every single week. It's Toni Storm. She just had such a killer 2022. She really elevated the women's division as a whole. And I think, obviously the stuff with Thunder Rosa, it sucks because the big win for her was supposed to be over Thunder, which would have pushed her even more. But I think she turned a really shitty situation into something really good. That even when we got that match with Jamie, it was really 50-50. You didn't know if Jamie was going to win. There were a lot of people pulling for Toni. So I think in the 2 to 3 month range she had, that she really killed it. But my top woman wrestler is Toni Storm.
Love Toni Storm. Very underutilized in WWE. And like we're talking about, her match against Jamie, to me, I was thinking, man, it's too soon to take the belt off of Toni. I wasn't really thinking that it was going to happen, even though I was hoping Jamie was going to win. So I thought it was a weird matchup for them to kind of go with at that point in time. Definitely able to see a little bit more of what she can do, just like you saw in the Mae Young Classic years ago and her NXT UK days. Toni's given her a chance to wrestle, and she's a fantastic wrestler. She did not make my top 5. And so it's crazy. Like Tom says, you can interchange so many people week to week, day to day. Sometimes if you actually get down and start thinking about it, Toni had a great year, kind of a comeback year for her because again, she was kind of left for dead in the WWE and not doing much of nothing. So great year for her. Tom.
Yeah, I kind of have the same thoughts you do on it. Toni Storm's great. I love Toni Storm. She's different. She brings something special, I think. But I just look at her whole year and how much of the beginning of her year, she wasn't really getting a chance to do anything. And then her time in AEW has really picked up and she's done some great things. but I don't feel like it was enough to put her in my top 5. 100% in my top 10, just not in my top 5.
Yeah, definitely. All right. May catch some slack with this after everyone see my second, third, fourth, and fifth pick. My number one person of the year is someone who I would have never in my life thought I would have as my number one. It was Mandy Rose. And it's crazy because Tom will tell you for so long, I was just waiting anytime budget cuts came. I knew for a fact she was going to be cut for so many years. I was like, they're going to cut her. They're going to cut her. Like they do nothing with her. She's just eye candy. She's just eye candy. That's all that they're letting her do is get out there and be eye candy. But man, did she ever change my mind over the last year. And going down to NXT, even though now it's kind of a rough situation as far as what everything happened, how it all played out. But until she lost the belt to Roxanne Perez, man, I couldn't have thought of a better year for somebody than what Mandy Rose was having. Her matches were actually really good. And I really feel like going down to NXT was the best thing possible for her. It was the best thing for that brand. Even challengers, when I thought for sure we're going to take the title from her, she would win. And then I was okay with it. There's sometimes when, like we're talking about Bayley not beating Bianca, I'm like, wow. But even though I was hoping Mandy was going to lose early on in the year, she pulled it through. I was glad to see her kind of keep that going. She also unified the titles, basically. And I know the NXT UK title wasn't a lot for some people. But that was a big moment for her because they could have easily took the belt off of her then. It showed the faith that they had in her and her ability and the way that she grew. So for me, and again, 2023, she's a millionaire now, but 2023 here hasn't started off in the wrestling world as well as she had hoped. But Mandy Rose for me was my 2022 Women's Wrestler of the Year. Tom.
So my number one was also Mandy Rose. But one thing you didn't mention that I feel like needs to be added is the fact that she elevated the whole group. And you have a viable tag team now that I do not know that we would have had it without her steering the ship. I don't know that they would be as successful as they are. And I still feel like they could move to the main roster next week if they decided to actually do a women's tag team division that they were going to do something with. I feel like they could be on Raw and SmackDown and be a very big part of the show. And I don't think she gets enough credit for making them relevant and bringing their talents to the forefront because all eyes were on her, but they actually, got the eyes on them as well, which was a very positive thing for NXT as a whole. I think Toxic Attraction was one of the attractions of the show. So a big deal there. And, she may have only been in the WWE for 11 months, but her December was a hell of a month for her too. So financially anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, Mandy Rose.
Yeah.
I think when she first went down to NXT, I saw so many, I was like, why? Doesn't make sense. She's not a good wrestler. I just don't get it. And then she dyed her hair. And I was like, I get it. It makes sense now. I don't know why I know why they fired her. But to me, there was so much there. You heard it today when she was on the morning talk show. The amount of work that she put in to that title reign to elevate Gigi and JC was just tremendous for someone who was really an outsider. Because remember, she was on Tough Enough. That's how she got into this whole thing, was a reality TV show. And when you look at what she's done the past year, you couldn't tell. She picked up so quickly, had tremendous matches that people were like, is this really the same girl that was on Tough Enough and like didn't know anything? So that's a great pick. Given what has happened the last couple weeks, I didn't know if I should put her on my list because I was like, she's had a rough couple weeks, but I don't know what happens next. Is there a chance she goes back to WWE? Given how she was talking this morning? Maybe. Is there a chance she goes to another company? Yeah. Is there another chance she just sits and becomes a millionaire on Face, whatever it's called? Possibly. There's a lot of different options for her, but whatever she decides, she has had a tremendous year, and she should be proud of that.
Listen, if there's one person Vince McMahon will bring back, it's Mandy Rose.
That is true.
I mean, to me, right now, just thinking about it, that's the perfect person he would bring back, 100%. Now, unless there's somebody who's buying the company like a Disney that's kind of like, yeah, I don't know. But I would love to see her be a surprise entrant in the Royal Rumble. I would try to keep it hush hush as much as I could. Because I think today she kind of acted like she would be open to having that conversation about taking the content down and hearing them out. But yeah, I think she'll be back in the WWE before she's back with anyone else. Definitely. But yeah, that's kind of cool, Tom. I can't believe it. I can't believe you had her as your number one. I just assumed she wasn't going to be on your list. I don't know who I thought your number one was going to end up being, but
yeah.
That's wow.
It's fair. It's a fair pick. I mean, I don't know who else I would have picked.
Yeah, it's just one of those years, I think Sasha was really hot early until things fell apart. Charlotte disappeared for the year. They kind of pulled Britt out of the title picture there for a while, for most of the year. Kind of pulled her back as well.
Let's be honest about Rousey.
I wish Impact would do more with their women's champion to make me care. And like you're talking about, Ronda Rousey's title run has done zero for me. Now, if Liv Morgan had held on to that title a little bit more, and they had shown her a little bit more love, actually, she probably would have rounded up about my number 10 with this list, but she could have definitely creeped into my top 5 if she had kept that run going, because she had a really good year as well. Yeah, it's always great to get people on here with different perspectives. And Kimmy, thank you so much for doing that with us tonight. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me. This was fun. I was scared that I was like, oh my God, my picks aren't going to make it. But we agreed on some. So that means I made it somewhere. People agree with me.
It's fine. It's fine. Ella was on last year, and her picks were different than ours as well. And that's what we love. We love to have different opinions. But it's always kind of funny when people are kind of thinking the same way, too. It's kind of fun. We will have our men's Wrestler of the Year show next week. And we'll have Aaron Silvers and J.R. Huffman here with us to break that down as well. But Kimmy, before we let you go, plug yourself. Here you go.
Oh God, I'm going to try to not take 10 minutes because I do way too many things. But hi, I'm Kimmy. I do a lot of wrestling things. You can follow me on Twitter at Kimmy_Sokol, SOKOL. You could also see me on Elite POV. We have a lot of cool stuff with that. You could see us live every single Friday on Twitch or YouTube. Just type in Elite POV. We talk all things Dynamite, Rampage, AEW rumors. Also, starting when Ring of Honor starts their TV deal, I will be hosting Honor POV, talking all about Ring of Honor because I love it there. Also, when season 4 starts, me and Kyle will be on Nerdy Elite doing our little, I know this is just one thing, there's multiple things too, it's scary, and I'm a full-time student on top of this. So season 4 with Nerdy Elite, we're going to do episode by episode recap. Phil and I also have a show coming at some point in January where we're going to rank the segments within AEW, what was good, what was bad. And Kyle and I are bringing back the K-Squared Observer, which is our little insider scoop show, summing up this very interesting month because it's only January. You could also see me on the Bob Culture podcast for the predictions panel. We will be predicting the Royal Rumble on January 26th. I also write articles weekly for thepopbreak.com, mostly all things wrestling. The last one I wrote was about Ric Flair's documentary on Peacock, and if you haven't watched it, it's really good. Obviously, I'm a younger fan, so I wasn't really there when Ric Flair was in his prime, but I sure learned a lot. Also, February 25th, if you're in the New York, New Jersey area, I will be making my commentary debut for Goddesses of War Wrestling. We have Nyla Rose versus Notorious Mimi for that championship. So if you're in the New Jersey, New York area, you go tune that out. But I think that's it for me. Thank you for having me on, and this was really fun.
Glad to have you.
Yeah, to be young like her and Ella and Samira, oh my Lord, have mercy. The things I can do nowadays, I got too many responsibilities. But man, oh man, definitely check her out. Give her a follow over on her social media. For myself and Tom, make sure you all hit the subscribe button. We always appreciate all the support everyone can give us. Tomorrow, when this episode drops, it's a big day. Hopefully, my new book, No Wi-Fi, No Problem, will be dropping tomorrow. Hopefully, got my proof copies coming, and then once I give the okay, we're hitting it. So hopefully everyone buy a copy of that as well. Let's get that to number one, like we did today. We pray. As always, pick up a copy of Independent Road: A Wrestler's Journey. Loving Casey Nelson in the background as well for myself, Tom, and Kimmy. Thank you all very much, and enjoy your weeks.